Go to any tech company's website, click on the About Us or Careers section, and most likely you will see the same corporate type of poetry. We have an engineering-first culture, or we prioritize user experience and we never allow any shortcuts, or quality is our top priority, something along the lines of those. And while it may seem so inspirational and so noble, it is a complete lie. And if you've spent more than a couple of years working in the industry, be it as a manual tester or a test automation engineer, or basically in any other role, you can feel even intuitively that something is amiss here when the management screams about quality on Monday, only to be pressing you to greenlight something by Friday because they have to meet the market window. And we, as QA engineers, be it manual or automated, enter this industry with a kind of a savior complex. Because we think that our job is to protect the users, to hunt down all the bugs, to provide the company, the project, our team with a flawless, impeccable test automation, for example, test automation pipeline that is basically watertight for any and all weathers. But then reality hits. You block a release because of a critical bug, and instead of being treated like a savior, instead of being a hero who just saved the company from a PR disaster, you are basically being treated like an enemy. Like you are the problem in this whole equation. You are the bottleneck. You are this pesky little creature who's preventing some kind of middle stage manager from meeting all the criteria they have in the nifty little spreadsheet. Why? Because companies don't really care about quality. They care about velocity, and to be even more precise, they care about accountability. So welcome to the scapegoat industry. But let's look at it cold-heartedly. If companies really don't care so much about quality, why do they spend so much money on the whole QA department? Why do they keep hiring? Why do they even keep these people? Why do they even care about building testing pipelines, for example? And they do it for the very same reason they are buying fire insurance. Not because they expect the building never to catch fire after that. They do that because if, or maybe when, the building actually does catch fire, they have something to show to the auditor. They have a piece of paper and they have someone to blame. And here, the situation is the very same. Because in the modern tech corporation, risk is the ultimate hot potato. That is the thing that nobody wants to hold. Product managers want to ship the new features as quickly as possible to hit the quota for their yearly bonuses. And the developers want to move fast because there's always something in the backlog waiting. There's always the next thing to jump to. So when a massive bug leaks to production and it causes a lot of monetary problems because of that, someone's head has to roll, and so that is when you come in. If the management can look at the nice dashboard they have and can pinpoint that the QA signed off on something, or that the report from your automation pipeline was green, the corporate shield activates. They can say, you see, the QA actually approved that. They actually greenlit that. So even though there was like this huge train wreck that happened, it's not my fault, basically. It's a process failure, but it's not my failure. QA is often hired not to improve on the product, but to provide kind of a liability shield, because that is what we ultimately become. QA is hired to distribute blame. The very moment that you realize that your automated tests are mostly there to cover the management's political and regulatory assets, rather than to catch your wild edge case scenarios that you are so proud of, your whole outlook on seniority changes. We live in the era of the feature factory. The stock market and venture capitals don't really reward anyone for being bug-free and nicely maintained. They reward new features being constantly rolled out. The whole innovation theater beat the boring daily maintenance work every single day. When you are forced into 2-week sprints, true exploratory testing is the first thing that flies out the window. There's no time to think, to tinker with things, to ponder the architecture, to actually think about real edge case scenarios or what may go astray. There's no time for that. The system rewards checkboxes, not creativity. So it's all reduced down to the simple questions of, did you automate the acceptance criteria? Yes. Is the ticket in the don't column? Yes. Thank you. That's it. We don't need any more creativity from you. And this environment breeds a very specific kind of burnout because it makes the testers feel disconnected from the work they are doing. They see bugs, they report bugs, and then the bugs get ignored for 2 years, or they get rejected with the status won't do because of time constraints or something like that. And then 3 weeks later, you see the reports from customers who are complaining about these specific things that you did report. So it's hard not to get disheartened by that. And if you take this personally, you will become burnt out before you hit freaking 30. You will become this cynical, angry, resentful tester which the developers just hate working with because he's always grumpy about the world and shaking his fist at freaking pigeons on the roof of the building. But the secret to surviving and thriving within this industry is understanding the difference between this personal involvement and professional excellence. Or maybe even between emotional investment and professional excellence. Because let's be honest, we get emotionally invested for good reasons. We are engineers. So of course we tie the perceived worth intuitively to the value that our code base brings to a given project. We treat the software kind of like a creation of our own. And when we get rejected with all the things that we are reporting, we don't take this lightly. We feel as if that was a slap in the face, as if that's a personal offense. And of course we do, because what's the value of the whole reporting and presenting everything and testing if it just gets swept under the rug all the time? And when you pour your soul into defending a castle that the king is actively trying to sell for freaking scrap metal, it's hard not to snap at one moment or the other. You reach a breaking point where the frustration hardens into kind of a quiet resentment. You just look at the screen and think, hell, if they don't care, why should I? So, is there even an alternative? Is there even a different path to go down? Yes, there is. Is the path I'm mentioning to just stop trying to write horrible tests and just collect your paycheck? No, because that's how you ruin your career, not how you bring it back to the right tracks. The solution is what I call personal detachment. Stop treating the product like it's your baby. It's not. It belongs to the business, and your job as an engineer is not to guarantee 0 bugs in production. Your job is to provide accurate, brutal, detailed data about risk. Your job is to provide assessment. You are an analyst of the risk that is happening around the project, not an enforcer. You are not a police officer who needs to bring every bad guy to justice. When you find a bug, you don't fight to block the release like a martyr. You don't throw yourself down on the doorstep and block everyone from passing. You don't do any of these things. You document the risk, you present it all to the business, and you let them make a mistake, even if it's a wrong one, because this is their thing. And don't elevate your ambitions into kind of a god complex. This is not your responsibility. If they decide to ship a broken feature because they feel like they need it in order to make it inside some kind of a deadline, so be it. Your shield is clean. You have provided everything. You have done your job perfectly. You have provided them with all the data in order to allow them to make the most educated decision based on all the uncertainty and knowledge floating around the project. This is where your responsibility ends. And once you drop this naive illusion that you are the gatekeeper of quality, you are the stone tablet at the top of the mountain, a weird thing happens. You stop stressing over everything all the freaking time. You stop fighting pointless political wars in all the Scrum ceremonies, or however it's called at your company, or the sprint plannings and everything. You focus on building fast, reliable feedback loops that allow you to collect all the data that's needed and to present it within a report, a dashboard, or however you roll, but basically to present the report of the facts and let the corporate machine run its course. So stop taking bugs and decisions which are not yours to make personally. Give the data, protect your pipeline, and let business make the calls that they are supposed to make. Keep your instincts sharp, and as always, keep on rocking.